It was December 5th, 1872, and the Atlantic was stretching out, gray and endless beneath a bruised winter sky. The waves rolled and heaved like the breath of some sleeping giant, you know? A British brigantine named the Dei Gratia sailed steadily that morning, her crew scanning the horizon for any signs of life. Suddenly, they spotted something far off, bobbing strangely on the waves. A ship. At first glance, it looked pretty normal, sails half set, drifting eastward, right? But as the Dei Gratia drew closer, an unsettling feeling crept in, like something was just off. There were no signal flags waving, no movement on deck, and not a single voice calling out. The ship's name, barely legible beneath layers of salt and wind, read Mary Celeste. Her helm turned loosely in the waves, almost like it was waiting for someone to take charge. Her sails hung torn, flapping like ghosts in the chilly air. And when Captain David Morehouse sent a boarding party over, they stumbled upon a scene so eerie it would become one of the greatest mysteries in maritime history. The ship was completely deserted, leaving everyone to wonder what could have happened. No crew, no captain, no lifeboat, but everything else was there, perfectly in place. The crew from the Dei Gratia stepped aboard, and you could hear the deck creaking beneath their boots, soaked yet oddly intact, like it was holding on to secrets. They called out, "Ahoy, anyone here?" but the wind just swallowed their words, leaving an eerie silence hanging in the air. Inside the captain's cabin, the first officer's logbook lay open on the table, its pages fluttering slightly like they were whispering secrets. The last entry, November 25th, 10 whole days earlier. It mentioned their position near the Azores, about 400 miles west of Portugal. Can you imagine the mystery swirling around that? It's like they just vanished into thin air. In the galley, they found a neaten meal still sitting on plates, fresh bread, salted pork, and mugs of tea gone cold, just waiting for someone to come back and enjoy them. The captain's bed was neatly made, almost too perfect. His wife's sewing kit lay beside it, needles still threaded, as if she'd just stepped out for a quick errand. It's heartbreaking, right? The cargo hold was full to 1,700 barrels of industrial alcohol, untouched and ready for transport. The ship's chronometer, sextant, and navigation charts were missing, but everything else, the logbook, the instruments, the cargo, remained, leaving everyone wondering what really happened. And yet, the lifeboat was missing. On deck, the boarding crew stumbled upon some deep cuts on the railings, almost like ropes had been cut in a hurry. And then there was this strange mark, a faint reddish-brown stain streaking the wood near the hatch. They were left guessing if it was rust or something more sinister, like blood. But here's the kicker. There was no sign of a struggle, no waterlogging, no signs of a fight. Just this eerie stillness surrounding a ship that was completely empty and adrift, making it all the more unsettling. The Mary Celeste had set sail from New York Harbor on November 7th, 1872, aiming for Genoa, Italy. Captain Benjamin Briggs was at the helm, a sailor with a solid reputation for his discipline and integrity. He was a family man, you know. He had his wife, Sarah, and their adorable 2-year-old daughter, Sophia, with him. Along for the ride were 7 crewmen, all carefully chosen by Briggs. These were reliable guys, loyal to the core. There were no troublemakers or drunks among them. Nothing in their backgrounds hinted at mutiny or madness, which makes the whole situation even more mysterious, don't you think? So what happened? The ocean keeps its secrets, but the theories began almost immediately. Theory 1, mutiny. The first idea was the obvious one, mutiny. Maybe the crew murdered the captain and his family, then fled in the lifeboat, but that theory fell apart fast. The crew had left behind all the valuables, gold, jewelry, personal items. Even their pipes, and the ship wasn't damaged. There was no sign of struggle or bloodshed, Besides, abandoning a seaworthy ship in the middle of the Atlantic made no sense. Theory 2, pirates were another guess, but again, nothing was looted. And the ship's course and timing didn't match any pirate activity zones of the time. So, if not pirates, then what? Theory 3. The alcohol cargo. Some experts pointed to the cargo itself. 1,700 barrels of denatured alcohol, highly volatile. Maybe some barrels leaked. The fumes could have built up in the hold, creating the risk of explosion. Imagine this. The crew smells gas. They panic. Captain Briggs orders everyone into the lifeboat temporarily while the ship airs out. Maybe they tie the lifeboat to the Mary Celeste with a rope. But a sudden gust, a wave, or a snapped line, and they drift away, watching helplessly as the ship sails off without them. It's a clean, tragic explanation, but there's one problem. No explosion ever occurred. No scorch marks, no smoke, no evidence of fire. And even if they'd panicked, why not climb back aboard once it was safe, unless something stopped them? Theory 4. Seek wake or waterspout. Another idea. A seek wake, a tremor beneath the ocean floor, could have shaken the ship violently. Loose barrels, noise, chaos. The crew believes the ship's sinking. They launch the lifeboat in terror. But when the sea settles, the Mary Celeste floats on, alone. Or perhaps a waterspout, a tornado of the sea, ripped through the waves and scattered the crew. But again, there's no damage on deck, no indication of weather extreme enough to warrant abandonment. Theory 5. The paranormal. Then the whispers began. Sailors are a superstitious breed, and they started calling her the cursed ship. Some said they'd seen the Mary Celeste sailing ghost-like before the discovery, her sails flapping without wind. Others claimed the ocean itself had swallowed her crew, pulled them into the deep, one by one. In later years, psychics and spiritualists claimed to have communicated with the lost souls of the Mary Celeste, describing visions of fog, disembodied voices, and a blinding light over the deck. Was it mass hysteria, or did something else claim them out there, something no logbook could explain? When the Dei Gratia brought the Mary Celeste to Gibraltar, a British court launched an inquiry. The investigating officer, Frederick Solly Flood, suspected foul play. He accused Captain Morehouse and his men of fabricating the story, suggesting they'd murdered the crew to claim salvage rights. But there was no evidence. In fact, the Dei Gratia crew barely profited, just a fraction of what the ship was worth. The inquiry concluded with a shrug. The cause of the abandonment remains unknown, and so the Mary Celeste drifted into legend, aftermath, and the curse. You'd think the story would end there, an unsolved tragedy, another ghost story of the sea. But the Mary Celeste had more to give. She was cleaned, refitted, and put back to work. But from that moment on, misfortune followed her like a shadow. Her captains died unexpectedly. Her cargo kept failing. Sailors refused to serve aboard her. They said strange things happened at night. Whispers in the dark, footsteps across the deck when no one was there, and once, the sound of a woman singing softly near the bow. Finally, in 1885, her new captain deliberately wrecked her off the coast of Haiti as part of an insurance scam. The ship was left to rot on the reef. Some say the wreck still hums at night, like timbers groaning beneath invisible feet. And the ocean, it never gave up her crew. Even today, the Mary Celeste remains one of the sea's most enduring enigmas. It's not just the lack of evidence, it's the feeling of it all. A ship found adrift, completely intact, yet emptied of every trace of human life. The haunting quiet, the untouched meals. The sense that something unseen had passed through, taking only the living. Scientists, historians, skeptics, all have tried to explain it. But if you ask sailors, the old ones who've been to that stretch of the Atlantic, they'll tell you there are places out there where compasses spin and time folds, where you hear voices in the fog calling your name. They say the merry Celeste still sails on moonless nights, a pale outline moving through the mist. A woman in white stands at the wheel, her hair streaming in the wind, her child clutching her skirts. And if you try to signal her, she doesn't respond because she's not there. She's somewhere else.